Next category, homosexual and transgender inmates. So working in corrections is kind of adult work. And we need to be adults about all of this kind of stuff because, you're going to have to deal with it. So homosexual behavior is against the rules. We don't let people hook up. It spreads AIDS, HIV, all kinds of STDs, and it creates violence. Not something we want in our prison. Heterosexuals may engage in homosexual acts in prison. It's a fact. It's called situational homosexuality. They're not homosexual. They get out of prison, and they're not going to run down to the nearest gay bar and hook up with somebody. Okay? They haven't been turned. You are what you are. Your orientation is what it is. But, hey, you're in prison for 20 years. Can you face the fact of not having any human contact, any touch whatsoever, other than, somebody trying to punch your lights out? And some people say, no, I can't. Right? So it's for the relationship. But they're lonely. So they work something out in their head, and they work something out with somebody else to meet their needs. It's consensual. And then there's rape, which is really not very much about sex and more about the violence of it. Rape represents power or dominance rather than sex. It's about dehumanizing somebody. Even the language that's used by prison rapists, I'm going to make you a sissy, I'm going to punk you out. That's not about sex. That's about subjugating somebody. That's about dominating them. That's about taking part of their humanity away. That's all about power and dominance. It just happens to involve a sex organ. Most prison rapists are heterosexual. They view themselves as heterosexual, and they don't think of prison rape as a homosexual act, which right there tells you an awful lot about rape. Consensual homosexual relationships are prohibited, even if they're consensual. Because here's the thing, folks, it might look like it is, but it might not actually be. We talked about how somebody gets turned out before. Right? You get the new kid comes in, he doesn't know what time it is. The older, more savvy inmate says, hey, let me help you out, have some of my shampoo, have some socks until your money comes in. Let me answer your questions, I'll show you where to go and how to do things. And of course the newcomer's like, oh yeah, that's great, thanks so much. And a few weeks or months go by, and then the older, more savvy inmate says, okay, I've been helping you out, it's time for you to help me out. So what you might see is two guys hooked up that looks consensual. And maybe you're one of those people that says, well, who cares? I don't care who sleeps with who or who loves who or all of that. It's not a big deal. So you might be tempted to turn a blind eye to it. There's a couple of guys just making the time go. Not my problem, I'm not going to see this. Yeah, you need to see it. Regardless of what your views are, one way or the other. This is adults. Right? We're all adults here, and you need to set your personal views aside. You got a job to do here. And even if you think it's consensual, you got to break that stuff up, because it might not be. You might have an ongoing rape. You might have somebody that's been turned out. And maybe it is. Maybe you got Fred and Joe love each other, and they're hooking up. But here's the thing. We got Fred and Joe who are hooked up, and here's Sam over here who likes the look of Joe. And he starts flirting with Joe and kind of coming on to Joe. Guys, what are the biggest bar fights over? Girls. Right? Because somebody's making eyes at your girl. Somebody's coming on to your girl. Maybe somebody had the audacity to send her a drink or something like that. Somebody patted her on the tail end, on the way to the can. Something happened, and now we got a full-blown fight. Now you're in prison where the stakes are so much higher. Everything that this person has ever cared about has been taken away from them. All of their friends, all of their family, all of their stuff is gone. And all they have that they really give a damn about is this other person. And now here comes the third person, the interloper, trying to take that away from them. There aren't any fist fights over this stuff. Right? These are some of the nastiest, ugly fights you'll ever see in prison right here because the stakes are so high. So, no, we got to shut that shit down when we see it. It's not because we're being mean or discriminatory or anything else. It's for the safety of the facility and everybody in it. Transgender. This is an issue that we've recently become a little bit more aware of. The transgender community has become more outspoken and letting us know that they're here, and that's good. That's a good thing. Because now that we're aware of it, right, we understand that we have some issues to deal with in our correctional facilities too. So transgender, to define it, is essentially a person whose gender identity, their sense of who they are, differs from their biological sex at birth. In other words, they're born in the wrong body, and their body doesn't match their mind. So you might have a person who was born male, but their brain is wired female. And they know all their lives, some know sooner than others, but they pretty much know all their lives, even if they can't put it into words, even if they don't know what's wrong, they know something's wrong. They know something doesn't feel right. And I know a few transgender people, and that's what they say. You know, I knew something was wrong from the time I was little. I didn't know what it was, I didn't know it had a name, but I knew something wasn't right. I never, ever felt like a boy. Or vice versa. You have somebody that's born in a female body with female sex organs, but their brain is wired for male.
So on their birth certificate, they're female. Are they put into a women's prison or jail? Or I guess prison it would be.
Well, hold the phone there, and we'll get to that in a minute here. Yep. So this is what transgender is. It's somebody their body doesn't match their mind. And it's a real thing. Can you imagine, just imagine, put yourself in this position, that you woke up one morning, wired the way you are in your brain, in the body of the opposite sex, and you had to live like that the rest of your life? So, Corey, you wake up tomorrow morning and you're in a girl's body. But you're still Corey up here. You're still wired male, right? Can you imagine living like that? Now, no. They've known all their lives that something was wrong, and then finally they figure it out and they go, oh. And they'll tell you. You ever talk to somebody? They'll tell you everything made sense. All of a sudden, everything made sense. I'm in the wrong body. Now, transgender people deal with it in different ways. Some people say, well, you know, I'll blow up my whole life if I change my body to match my mind, so I'll get counseling, I'll find other ways to deal with it. And they don't change their bodies. This is called transitioning. They don't change their bodies. They just try to live with it. Others can't live with it at all, and they kill themselves. The suicide rate for transgender people is extremely high. And some people change their bodies to match their minds. These men here were born female. Yep, fact. Never know it. These women were born male. Are you starting to see some of the issue with the whole transgender bathroom thing? Because I got news for you. If I walked into the ladies' room and this guy walked in here too, I'd tell him he was in the wrong place. Get the freak out of this bathroom, man. Go over there where you belong. But then they're going to say, well, no, because you know, he was born female and he's supposed to use the women's bathroom. You see the whole problem? I'm going to tell you right now, you have used the bathroom with transgender people before, probably dozens of times and never known it. So my point is, it's not an issue. You know what trans people do in the bathroom? They go pee and poop. That's what they do. Well, transgender women also fix their hair and their makeup too. No, not really the issue everybody makes it out to be. Michigan Department of Corrections policy, and this is going to answer your question, says hormone therapy. If they're on hormone therapy already, when they're incarcerated, we will continue their hormone therapy. If they are not, and they can show that they have gender dysphoria, that is, that they are having severe psychological problems because their body and their mind don't match, then we can start them on hormone therapy to cause their body to conform. Now, the question was, what prison do we put them in? And up until recently, and many jails still do this, it depends on the policy, they still classify somebody based on their genitals. So you can be in a very male-looking body, but you didn't have phalloplasty, where they create a penis, which is pretty hard to do, by the way. There's the old saying, it's easier to dig a hole than build a pole. That's true. So males transitioning to female sex, the surgery is usually fairly successful. Females transitioning to male sex, the surgery is rarely successful. So mostly they will transition every other part of their body except their genitalia. So you've got a male in every sense of the word except that they don't have a penis. So then the question is, what do you do with them? So up until recently, the policy has been, well, you know, you've got a penis, you're a male, you're going over into men's prison. And then you've got to segregate them for their own protection. Or you were female, you know, you're born female, so we're putting you in the female section. And Midland County actually had a transgender man, muscles on muscles, a beard, the whole 9 yards, and bingo, they put him in the women's section in segregation. So this is one of those very complicated issues that we get into when we're dealing with transgender people, is, you know, how are we going to address this part? Transgender and homosexual individuals are entitled to professional treatment. You don't get to make fun of them. You don't get to mistreat them. If they require segregation for protection, you're going to do that.
So the answer was pretty much, like, until recently, so what's the actual, like, rate now? What do does it just depend on the area?
They haven't actually, Michigan hasn't actually dealt with that very well. So to my knowledge, from the best knowledge that I have at this moment in time, would be that they're segregated in the prison of their biological sex. Still. So you watch the PREA video. So we get the Prison Rape Elimination Act, PREA, which is designed to arrest the astronomically high rate of sexual assaults in our prisons. It's gone down some since PREA, but it's still higher than is acceptable. In fact, in the United States, because of prison rape, more men are raped than women. So it's still a problem. Inmates are advised at reception that sexual assault is possible. Isn't that sad that we have to do that? You know, and then they're kind of left on their own to figure out how they want to deal with that possibility. So some guys bulk up, they go to the gym, they get big. Other guys make weapons. And some just, you know, deal with it when it happens, I guess, or if it happens. So as an officer, you watch for signs. Anything that looks amiss, you're going to investigate it. You're going to question any suspected targets. Now, often, people who have been raped are not going to tell you because snitches get stitches. So sometimes you just got to kind of figure it out on your own. And if you even think that somebody has been sexually assaulted or abused in any way, you are going to separate them as a precaution. And I've seen many, many inmates that I truly believe were beaten and raped, and they'll lie about it. No, nothing, I fell out of bed 20 times by the look of it. Yeah, but okay, so I get why you're lying to me, and you know, I'm not going to call you a liar or anything, but guess what? Pack up your stuff because we're moving. I'm going to take them out of that harmful situation. And sometimes that's all we can do. If they actually are willing to testify, then we pursue it like any other rape. And we're going to file charges, we're going to go through the court system and prosecute the rapist. But mostly they won't tell you, so you just got to kind of, you know, figure it out and separate to the best of your ability.